raining. How gorgeous. I feel like it sets the scene with talking about Labyrinth. You know what I mean? I feel like actually, now that I think about it, Labyrinth is very much a rainy day film for some reason. But I also, you know what's funny? I also don't know, like, also what season to sound like to label it in, or yeah, to put it in a box type thing, because Labyrinth is, exactly, it's a classic, number one. Number two, I suppose it's just like, I don't know. You can probably watch it whenever, actually. Sometimes I hate that whole idea of you should watch this film then, you should watch that film then. Because it's crazy, because I don't think we do that. But like, you can actually watch a film whenever you want. So, do you know what I mean? We said, who made the rules for that? Cinema is cinema, and like, we're all gonna watch films whenever we can. You see, it's a fantasy family. It's a family film. How interesting. Do you guys know what? Exactly. I never even watched Labyrinth when I was younger. That's what's so surprising to me. I said, wow, Labyrinth is a family film. I never watched it when I was young. No, that's not fair. I think, remember, I only watched Labyrinth, yeah, exactly, when I got older, and I realized my love for David Bowie. David Bowie. I was like, I love David Bowie. And I was like, and then, yeah, I guess, exactly. Out of, what is it? Curiosity? Best way, by the way, hello, best way to ever think you're going to watch something, actually, to watch it just straight out of curiosity. We're just like, yes. And because I think, I always said that, actually, it's interesting when you watch something, yes, for a certain actor / actress or whatever, but you just decide to watch it for that basis alone. And I think that's perfectly fine. You're like, oh, David's here. We're like, yes, that's why we're going to watch it. And also, yes, Jennifer Connelly. Oh my gosh, funny enough, I saw Jennifer Connelly in a film the other day already, which was yes, he's just not that into you. I thought I was gonna do a video a TikTok. Sorry. This is a chronically online brain. That's what I mean. I was like, what? We're just saying a bunch of social media platforms right now. Sorry. I was gonna do an episode, yes, about he's just not into you. Then I was like, nah. I remember I need to add it to my October reviews. October watches. Good gosh. Sorry, brain's running slow today. Tank empty. But like, no, so exactly that one. I need to put that on there, and I actually forgot. But yeah, Jennifer Connelly's really good in that film, actually. Do you know what I mean? She's very good in that film, and I also like her in it just because like her character is so interesting. The idea of coming to terms with the fact that your husband has another girlfriend. And I think, yes, you feel sorry for her because it's like she knows he has another girlfriend. And then, she tries her hardest to still, I don't know, be what he wants. But that's the whole thing anyway. That's the whole difference in when a man has a wife and then he has a, what do you call it? Girlfriend, mistress, because of course the wife is going to be like, I'm the better woman in this because I'm the wife. But we're like, well, not really, because he still had the gall to cheat on you. So it kind of means you probably are still at the same level as the other woman as well, but that's all right. That's sometimes what people try to rationalize it as, because people will be like, the woman will be like, well, I'm married to him, so that automatically must mean I'm better. Then we're like, no, it actually doesn't. So, do you know what I mean? Love isn't like that, we said, by the way. We said, you don't really, because I think it's really interesting that people think that you cheat on people that you love or something. Like, this whole thing. People will say, yeah, like, I cheated on my girlfriend, but like, I was in love with her. And we said, when? Like, when? When were you in love with her? Mid the act? That's crazy. I don't think you would have been able to do it if you realized that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. And then, this brings up another argument because we're like, not even the idea of, when, someone who is going to cheat then backs out. That's quite a tricky one because you're like to yourself, yes, the fault still remained and they were still like one way of doing it. So it's almost like it's the idea of almost when people say attempted murder. You had your hand on the trigger. You didn't release it though, but you were close. You were so close. So we're like, if you could be able to contemplate murder, we said you need to go to jail, right? And it's the same thing because people will be like, oh, but I didn't cheat though. We're like, but you were so semi-close. It's absolutely crazy. So like, I just think that whole thing is just crazy. And I just mean like, I feel like when I was watching He's Just Not That Into You, it really did remind me of, what do you call it? It reminded me of that film, obviously, that Emma Thompson's in. Not that I've seen it, bro. I will watch it, though. I think maybe, because, guys, I think I need to make what do you call it? I made a Christmas episode one time, and then, it was like episode 12 of the pod, and basically, I probably should do one this year, too. But that's if I remember. Sorry. That's if I remember. Like, honestly, I liked my Christmas episode last time. That was really fun. And I think if I do one exactly, that will be one of them because I've been meaning to watch that Emma Thompson film. But when I say how crazy, I call it the Emma Thompson film. Just because there's that, obviously we all know there's that scene in it where she's obviously supposed to be she's Alan Rickman's wife, and then obviously she starts crying. Oh, you know what even that reminds me of probably? It reminds me of Olivia Dean's Loud. Did you guys listen to the Olivia Dean album? You must have. It is absolutely stellar. It's stellar and it's beautiful and I love it. And a lot of her music, like in it, her music is rom-com-esque. We said we need her music. We need her music in a rom-com immediately. And I think, obviously her song would go great probably in something like Bridget Jones, for instance, probably. And I think, who was it saying? Yeah, my family was like, oh, Bridget Jones is not done. They'll keep on freshening out Bridget Jones. And I was like, okay, what do you mean? They're going to keep doing Bridget Jones until Renee's dead? I was like, what do you mean? That's crazy. I was like, just the last one, Mad About the Boy. I was like, I thought that means it would be done. Like, what else more do you guys have to say? Honestly. And I also feel like, exactly. In a movie such as Bridget Jones, when a woman meets or reaches, what's the word? When she reaches like motherhood in the way that obviously Bridget Jones had, because that's obviously where we always knew Bridget's story would lead up to. But so she reached motherhood. So my thing is, what else are they really telling? With the idea of her reaching motherhood and what is left for us. I think, funny enough, my dad is so hilarious. My dad was like, oh, he thinks that they will carry on doing it and they'll probably like keep stringing it until Bridget's a grandma. And I said, until she's a granny? For what though? Like, what are we watching Bridget Jones be a granny for? Like, that's not, like, exactly, that's not the epitome of Bridget Jones. We said it's not the character form in a way. We're just like we don't think Bridget Jones and think, yeah, we see her as a granny. We see her as, imperfect Bridget Jones. Like, do you get what I mean? Like, I just think it's so interesting. And I think, sure, if we was to see her as an old person, that's not bad, because I like when they do that, though. Like, when, like, they have those films where, yeah, they make you go through a person's whole entire life. I do think that those are really interesting. And I think it's the idea of, like, they'll probably do that thing, right? Do you know what I mean? How we do that thing which they always do. And it's a cliche trope, by the way, where obviously the person ends up old and then, like, they're in their old age. Then they decide to write a book. We're like, okay, wrap it up. Like, why are you guys always writing books? Like, not even to be like that, you know. Hey, I love books. Do you know what I mean? And I write. So this is what I'm saying. I'm not being a hater. I'm just like, the trope is crazy. And it's overdone as well. And a lot of tropes in cinema are anyways. Do you know what I mean? We won't get into that. But it's just like, yeah, a lot of them are just like so like done. But this is the thing, like, I think that, I guess if they want to do that with Jones, that would be really interesting. I suppose they would have it in a way where, like, she'd be a granny, and then, like, because she's written her diaries for all these years, she'd just compile them into a book and she'd sell them to everyone. But yeah, that's where it's going, I suppose. But it's just like, no. And then obviously she'll be out here and she'll be signing her book and she'll be talking about, you know, her life, and then they'll take us through flashes of all the Bridget Jones films and everything like that. How great. I did not know that Tim Henson was the guy. Like, I didn't know he made this film, sorry. Damn, today years old. I'm always today years old whenever I find out anything, man. What's going on? I should know stuff. I always do this. I should know stuff. I'm 23 years old. But actually, I don't know why I say it like that. But I just am. Do you know what I mean? But then I always think to myself, yeah, why do I say it like that? I still have so many years to go through. It's because obviously Jim Henson, which makes perfect sense because he's kind of like, you know, you say Jim Henson, we think he's the puppet guy. It's the same way Gary Lineker is the crisp guy, but he's more than the crisp guy. I know it's crazy. I always imagine Gary Lineker to just be the crisp guy, and I think it's crazy because I should grow out of that, but I probably won't. Like, I just think, like, you know, when it's like, exactly, like, we've all seen Gary on our screens for years advertising walkers. I think it's like, that's what we envision him to be, and that's why it sticks. Do you know what I mean? A lot of things always stick, you know? Robert Pattinson, he's Edward, and, like, this is what I'm saying, he'll forever be that guy. But, like, we even have to think about, you know, exactly, before, is it technically, is that right? Wait, because I was like, hold on. I was thinking, like, is the dates right? But he was also second degree, so we also have to remember that as well. But anyways, place where I'd like to start off Labyrinth is... Sorry, bear with. I'm going to start off with talking about David Bowie's bulge. Anyways. You guys will probably be like, you're so real for bringing up his bulge. But yeah, sorry, I had to. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you know why I'm starting off there? Is because the idea of when it says family. And I'm like, what do you mean? I mean, yes, it has everything that a family film needs. But what is it with exactly that whole David Bowie package? I don't know, like, why they had it so visible on screen, so in your face. Yeah. So in your face, you just don't even know. You just don't even know. Like, but I mean, you don't even know what to look like. That's what I mean. Like, it's crazy. Sorry. And, like, honestly, look, you search it, right? And it's funny. It says David Bowie. It says Labyrinth David Bowie pants. You see? It's almost like it's infamous. And then also, like, good God. And also it's like, why is it that's so bad? Because I think to myself, now that comes up as a Google search, that makes it seem like it overshadows the film. Do you know what I mean? We're like, David Bowie pants. But, like, what about Labyrinth, guys? What about the crux of the film? What about the fact that it's a good film and, like, people like it? Do you know what I mean? What do you mean? And then it says, yeah, Warwick Davis says Bowie stuffed several socks down his pants for Labyrinth. But for what, though? Do you get what I mean? Like, R.I.P. to David. Like, honestly, I was like, we wish we could ask him. We said, sir, what was that about, bro? What was that about? Why did you feel like to do that? Why did you feel like to push down several socks down your trousers? You didn't need to do that. You didn't need to do that. But you know what? You know that whole thing that they do. Like when I thought of David Bowie's pants, I was like, this is a thing that actually happens a lot because you see it in like what do you like period dramas, for instance. Exactly, they always have such yeah, they have such like tight pants and like yeah and like super yeah big bulge area. It's very odd. But no, I just mean that is where like you see it from. So something like I don't know, I was gonna say the Tudors, and then like there's also something else. Oh, the Musketeers, right? Because exactly as I said about tight pants, I was like, this is just what I mean. I'm like, period dramas are all surrounded by tight pants, you see. But like you guys are like, really? And I'm like, yeah, like the guys, they just wear tight pants. Because I also just thought of exactly Ever After, which you guys know is my favorite film, and Ever After, exactly, the guy from Ever After had tight pants on, and obviously why I see, I mean, I'm like his pants, and then his pants draw me to the scene where he's fighting in the woods. Do you know what I mean? He's got his sword out and he's out here fighting the bandits. And then as I said, he had a tight pants on. And then actually another scene again, which obviously runs you of his tight pants again, would be obviously when like I'm sure yes, when Drew Barrymore's character yes. Thank you so much. Jennifer Lewis, but no, like, so his pants also is when he first meets Drew Barrymore's character, but then I think she's throwing apples at him, or is he throwing apples at her? Either way around, you know. I know that film very, very well. Like, do you know what I mean? I know ball, so I know that film well. It's just I can't pin exactly. I can't pinpoint exactly what their first meet was, because I do believe it was the apple scene, and I love the apple scene so much. Yeah. Well, hold on. I just love the whole entire film. Like, yes, the apple scene. That's great. But that is obviously what I was trying to say to you guys about the pants thing, because I was just mean that they just like to have like guys in these kind of oldish things in just really like tight pants. And I think, I don't know what it's for. This is the thing. Is it to show off that appeal, or is it to show off their buttocks? Either, do you know what I mean? I kind of just said buttocks, but no, like, so is it either that, or is it, do you know what I mean? It's one out of the two, innit? Or maybe it's both. Well, like, we don't actually know. It could be both of them, because otherwise I just don't know why they would do that. And that is everyone's whole thing, actually, when it comes to Labyrinth. Exactly. We're all like, this is a kid's film. Do you get it? We're like, kids watch this. Are you alright? Why are we seeing your bulge on 3D display? That's crazy. Do you know what I mean? Type conversation for a child to be like, oh, mommy, what is in David Bowie's pants? They wouldn't even say David Bowie, even though they might, but you never know, because they might know him, because, do you know what I mean? It's all about, sometimes, exactly, it's all about your environment, sorry, because obviously, like, depending on if their parents, like, I don't know, play David Bowie in the house, that kind of scenario, then it'd be a thing where, yes, they probably know who he is. But if not, then, yeah, they'd just be like, yeah, why is that man, what has that man got down his pants? Do you know what I mean? And it's a valid question. Kids always ask valid questions, kind of. No, like, generally, kind of. Like, you know what I mean? Sometimes most of their questions are also insensitive. But, like, do you know what I mean? I do think that, oh. So, anyway, this thing says, but it says, why did David Bowie wear a codpiece in Labyrinth? I'm gonna move on from the codpiece thing soon though, because it's so like, it's so, yeah, it's so strange to me. And I want to dive into all the other components of Labyrinth, you know what I mean? All the great things that make this film what it is. Aside from David's big centerpiece bulge that just, yeah, it's just there. It's just there. It's just taking up room. But but the truth is, yes, it's absolutely deliberate. That's from Brian Frode's artwork, revealing some insight into what the Goblin King's codpiece represents, and describes this part of Bowie's costume as part of the storytelling. The codpiece represents male sexual aggression. Huh? Sorry, but like saying it represents male sexual aggression. Sorry, wait. I don't like that because I'm like, what do you mean it represents sexual male aggression? And in a kid's film though? Oh, I don't get that though. Guys. I don't get that. I think we should all go away and we should search more into that because that's really odd. Yeah. We should all go away and dive into that more because I just don't know, like, what that means. Like, you know, even exactly those 3 words, it feels so like, it feels so loaded. Like, what do you mean male sexual aggression? So I'm also just like, no, like, let's not even dive into that. Like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I just don't know. Hold on a second, actually, guys. I'm gonna look up more, and I'll be back. Okay, I found something. So it says, I'll also put this in the description, actually. So it said, actually, I need to screenshot it first because that's what I'm saying. Otherwise, I won't be able to find it afterwards. The codpiece. So exactly, we were here, guys. The codpiece represents male sexual aggression. Sarah is at a point in her life where she's a child, but she's becoming a woman. She's in that cups period, and the character of Jareth is sort of an aggressive adult, masculine sexuality, that is both terrifying to her and very attractive to her. Okay. So yes, it's definitely part of the storytelling that he should have this cod piece that's a masculine sexual image. And it says from a character standpoint, it does make sense that Jareth's masculinity and power would begin to dwindle as Sarah makes her way through the titular maze and defeats the Goblin King. We just never pictured it on the smaller end at all with the way Bowie flaunts it through Labyrinth. No, absolutely flaunts it all the time. But you know, okay, so we've obviously now, yes, we've explained that that maze sexual aggression. And I get it, kind of. But then I'm also like, yeah, why is that's such a, like, what's the word? I want to say sensitive topic, kind of. Yeah, sometimes it's so weird to me because I think that family films sometimes, what's the word? I think they overstep boundaries sometimes, but that's just my own opinion. I think that they sometimes do, and I think to myself, like, exactly, was it really a good, decision making? Or even, actually, better word would be creative direction, because that's the word that you use in film. Do you know what I mean? You use that film, you're like, creative direction. So is it really like, was it the best possible thing to really make Jareth's, take up such a, and then obviously how they've explained it, have such a vital, what's the word? I mean, you know, it sounds interesting though, also, actually, at the same time. It's quite of like, it feels like, obviously, it's quite, metaphorical, because they're saying, like, they're saying, you know, he was he was it was in his swagger, kind of, in a way, and that in the way of her beating him, it was making his power go smaller or whatever. Or that I think there's like the same with his male sexual aggression is supposed to be a way of like the confidence and the aura basically that he has. And then like the fact that yes, that Sarah is a young woman and Jareth is supposed to be yes, attractive to her. But hey, do you know what I mean? And then even on the subject of that, by the way, well, like if Jareth was so attractive to her, she should have just stayed in the maze. Like, but hey ho. You know how yeah, Jareth kept saying to her, I have done everything I've done for you, actually. So that's the key that's the key part. And that's in within you, right? I've listened to Labyrinth, the Labyrinth soundtrack back to back so many times, and it's always so interesting of how I said to you exactly when obviously seeing as I watched it when I was older, it's the idea of like I got to obsess over it more. It's funny. It's weird because of course maybe I would have obsessed over it even if I was younger, but when I was younger I still would have had that. But I feel like I'm more able to like I'm more able to obsess over it now. Do you get it? Like, and I think lots of people obsess over Lambert still, and they what's the word? I've seen people like I think I saw this thing on TikTok one time where there was somebody who decorated their room like in a Labyrinth way, and I thought that was really lovely. But not like because you guys when I just said Labyrinth way, you might think, oh, they turned their room into a maze. No, sorry, not that. I don't want to. I don't want to give you guys the wrong interpretation, but I meant like what they did was they just added all of the what's it? All the plush toys of all of the what's it called? All of the goblins, and they had them all there, and then they had also probably the big one, and they had loads of like what's it called? Lots of like plants and like all those greeneries, and I just thought that was really great. You know, I would love to do something like that, but I'm really lazy. Like, I love how when I see people put so much effort into their rooms because I think that's really gorgeous. You know, like, most people do that a lot. Like, you know how people actually, like, decorate their rooms? And I think, like, people who do that, though, they are literally, like, directors. Like, I'm telling you, like, they are people who could go out to decorate rooms basically, like as in like I guess the role is like exactly it's like set designer and kind of well yeah no it's basically set designer to be honest, because if you have that sharp eye then you know what I mean, it's the place for you, like it's actually where you're supposed to be. But so I saw that and I just thought that was really cute. But obviously, yeah, that whole layer is very interesting. I don't really think because this is the thing. Like, okay, no, okay, maybe I would say that yes, Sarah does actually have a moment of doubt, but also not really. Maybe we could only count exactly when she tries to dance with Jareth, but other than that, that's probably no. I think the whole time she seemed very what's the word? Yeah, she seemed very focused. I meant she knew her mission and she was just determined, basically. From when she set her foot in the maze, she was just, yeah, she was just adamant on finding that baby. And baby says, no, but she was adamant on finding that baby. I was just like, forget that baby, bro. Like, I even said that on my TikTok. I said, she should have just forgot that baby. Like, and the funny enough is that exactly, Jareth comes to her because it was her wish. She wanted the baby to go away. And then Jareth was like, well, I commanded your wish, but now you want the baby. Do you know what I mean? What's wrong with you? Make up your decision. Like, why are you indecisive? You didn't want the baby, now you do want it. And now you're doing all of this. Do you know what I mean? So it was absolutely crazy. I think I love Labyrinth how exactly he would just keep showing up basically, and it's like every single time, exactly every single time she would find herself somewhere else, then he would just pop out and he'd be like, "Oh hi." He'd be like, "What's up, shawty?" "What's up, shawty?" He said, "Hello." And then obviously I suppose when it gets to the end, he's like, "Oh, just stay with me." And then Sarah's like, "No, I don't want to." And it's like, okay, that's weird. It's the whole idea of exactly like, I think, that whole like, I think also exactly, I have this film in a letterbox list, right? And I think it's called, is it something is I think Labyrinth is in this list. If it's not, of course I'll put it in. But this list was called through the other door, slash through the other side type situation. But it's basically obviously a list that's compiled of films that explore going to other worlds. You know what's interesting? Because obviously Lord of the Rings wouldn't be declared like as one of those though, because of course they were in that world. Do you get it? Like, it's not even like they didn't have to go to sleep to do anything. Like, they didn't have to sleep, wake up, find themselves there. That was actually where they lived. So we said, congrats. That was actually where they lived. Of course, we know that Harry Potter would be one of them because they had to go through a wall. So do you know what I mean? You had to go through a whole wall to get to to Hogwarts. Like, you had to go through a whole wall, and like you had to also find the right platform to take a train there. But it wasn't easy. Like, you get what I mean? We only saw Harry do it for the first time. It was not easy to get there. Do you know what I mean? You really had to concentrate. And I was thinking to myself, remember when Harry struggled for the first time, I was like, why is it difficult to, like, I don't know, walk through a wall, basically? But then I think what it was exactly, it was the idea of, I swear in that scene, Harry basically just had to, like, he had to believe, I feel. That's probably what the main thing was. And we know that all these films have that anyway. It's all about belief. You have to believe that you are in a different place. And if you do believe that, then, do you know what I mean? Everything will work out. Because it's like, I think it happens to a lot of them, basically. Like, a lot of these characters. Because, obviously, I'm looking at my list now as well. And it's like, obviously, I have Spirited Away in here. Alice in Wonderland, Coraline, Pan's Labyrinth, and Alice Through the Looking Glass as well. So, do you know what I mean? All these films where you obviously, you find yourself in a different place, but you also exactly, like, I think obviously the first film, like I said, was Spirited Away, and even exactly Chihiro comes to the place underneath the tunnel, and she's like, the bathhouse, and she's like, this is a dream or whatever. And we're like, and then obviously I think exactly what clicks for her when she sees her parents turn into pigs, and she's like, oh, actually this is not a dream, and I'm actually here, and I actually have to, like, make it my mission to survive. She's like, I actually have to commit. I don't know why I didn't have Labyrinth in here before, actually. That's very interesting. And then, of course, even then you have the other Labyrinth film, like I said, that is Pan's Labyrinth. But I find that film really, really scary. Because obviously, the first time I saw Pan's Labyrinth was in school, because they would show that in, what what was it? In Spanish class. Yeah. I think it was their way of, obviously, because as I said, that's how school always tries to teach students, real visual stuff. And I think that's really good. I think that's obviously why I'm probably still a visual learner, because I need to see things, like, you know what I mean? I need to see it, and I need to see it and understand it, and that's just the best way, So I think obviously they put Pan's Labyrinth on so that we could like listen to Spanish, and also, like, what's the word? Yeah, well, was basically just listening to Spanish, because that was the whole idea of when we were in Spanish. You had to, like, what's the word? Yeah, you had a speaking, you had a listening, and it was just like, oh, you wanted to be able to be familiar with the way that different words sound and all that kind of stuff. But this is what I mean. And that's the thing, I suppose I've only ever really watched Pan's Labyrinth like one time, because that film scares me. Like, I find the thing with the eyes, I find that thing really scary. And obviously, I swear Pan's Labyrinth is also supposed to be, this is what I mean, all these like family kind of orientated kids films. Like, who's watching that, by the way? I mean, look, this film says fantasy war, right? But it's very scary, though. Imagine putting this film on for kids. I'd be like, you don't like that child. I'll be honest. Like, I'm like, you don't like that child. Just say that already. Because you would not be putting that on otherwise. Like, there's no way. You would not be doing it. Because that film is really scary. Oh, and also I feel like, quickly, obviously I was trying to do the list thing, but actually let me quickly just talk about the music. So obviously, like, what do you call it? Obviously I mentioned Within You, and I really love that song, and yes, When the World Falls Down, which is also the ball scene, and then oh yeah, Magic Dance, but of course, because I also referenced that one earlier as well, and Baby Says, that's also a good one. And then, there's probably more as well. But I feel like, no, like, exactly, big three for me are those ones, though, innit? That's what I'm saying. Like, Magic Dance, Within You, and One Falls Down, those are my top three. And I do like, exactly, I like the whole entire soundtrack of Labyrinth, to be honest. But obviously, yeah, those are my three favorites. And of course, I feel like, exactly, as a David Bowie fan, it's also not hard to like those songs. Oh my gosh, wait. Another song I think I forgot from the film is Underground, innit? Yeah, that's the one. Because Underground plays, I think, at the, it might be the end credits. I believe so. I think it's the end credits. And I really like that song. So maybe, yeah. But like, I said top three, but then we're like, yeah, probably four. We're just like, just top four. And yeah, Underground is really good. I think I was just thinking, actually, could you think of Corpse Bride as a through the door film? Which you probably could, kind of. And it is going to another world, kind of, also, because he basically goes to the land, exactly, the land of the dead. So you could say that it kind of counts. And also, exactly, also a film like Book of Life, and also Coco. Yeah, Book of Life and also Coco, because yes, right? Because I'm going to explain. Because exactly. So I'll start off with Book of Life, actually. Maniolo, is it? Yeah, Maniolo. He ends up going. Yeah. He goes to the underworld as well,
Do you get what I mean? And obviously so does Coco. Do you know what I mean? Both of those films, they both explore going to the land of the dead. So that is why I'm saying to you guys, like, those kind of semi count too. Like, I'm saying Corpse Bride does, Book of Life does, and also Coco does as well. All three of them. So I wish I had those as well. I thought I listened to a thing where you guys are joining me. You guys are joining me while I make my letterbox list. But I like making lists, and it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm recording an episode for you guys and you're here, so why not? Do you get what I mean? Tag in, like, just be here. I don't even know how many lists I have, actually, to be honest. I should check that really quickly. I have quite a lot, to be honest. Yeah, guys, I have 91 lists. 91. Get a job. Like, oh my god, I said that to myself, and it's funny because I need one. But then it's just like, 91 lists is a lot, but I generally can't help it because I really enjoy, and I think, you enjoy making lists, exactly, if you just like making lists in general. Like, me and my notes, oh yeah, we are locked in, we are best friends. Like, I use my notes so much. Even my notes, I think I have about like 1,000 notes. I don't even need to check. I know that it's 1,000. Like, you guys, like, I know that it's 1,000. It's not even a question. So exactly. I also really like the Book of Life as well, actually. So, I mean, Book of Life is actually probably also one of my favorite films. Just like, exactly. Just in the list, wherever it is, it's one of my favorite films. That's why I get so annoyed, actually, that, the idea of Letterboxd and having a top 4, it's just sad because it's like, no, it's not enough, basically. I feel like what you do need is like a top, I don't know, top 50, top 100, I don't know, but something like that. And I do think that, like, I suppose when I was doing, I should also record an episode for that as well, but when I was doing my film alphabet, I found that really difficult, kind of. I mean, yeah, I did, did, but it was a bit challenging, and I think it's the same way that probably would be for a, for one of those favorites movies lists. It would be like a for me, it would be a top 10 or a top 20. I think I could probably do, exactly, I think I could do a top 20, but I don't think I could do anything more further out than that. And that's funny, considering, you know what I mean? Considering, when you go on Letterboxd and your Letterboxd tells you you've watched like 500 films and you're like, oh, yeah, but still. But like, yes, I've watched 500 films, but I could not compile them all together. I would find that really, really difficult to do so. And like, I think I usually find ranking lists really difficult in general because it's just a bit annoying for me. Like, it's just like, yeah, the idea of when you say something is the best and something's the worst, I just hate that though, because I'm just like, you're all good individually, you're all individually special, so I'm just like, let's not make it a competition. Like, it's actually all right. I mean, it's actually fine. So this was my whole thing. That was even what was annoying me, actually, about the film alphabet, because I was obviously trying to, like, I don't even know how you do a film alphabet. Like, when I did it, I don't know how you do it, basically. I basically winged it. But like, it was just a thing where I was picking one film for one letter, and then obviously I was doing like, exactly, honorable mentions. So ones that would also be the same letter of the alphabet, and just compiling them all together. But yeah, actually, and that's also actually on my Letterboxd as well. I have that list on Letterboxd, but I'm not gonna give it to you because, of course, I'm probably going to do an episode on it. So I don't want you to. I don't want you to see the list. Then it would not be a surprise, would it? No. You know, that's the whole idea. I like that about this, really. Sometimes people do know what I'm going to talk about on here, but other times you don't. And I think that's the best way, you know? live in constant surprise. Do you know what I mean? Always just be ready to enjoy whatever it is that we are discussing, because I'm sure you will. You know what I mean? I'm actually sure you will. And as you know, as you said, back to the Jim Henson thing, because that's what I'm saying. Actually, it makes so much sense. Anyways, I don't know why I didn't think of it before. I don't know why I didn't. He's a clown, but so I just don't know why I didn't realize that Jim Henson made that film, because obviously a lot of this film is a lot of it's a lot of puppet work anyways. You know what I mean? So it's quite obvious as well. That's not to like, hello, that's not to say anything like to myself. I just didn't know, because obviously, yeah, because it's like with Labyrinth, it's not to say that like it's an old film for one thing, and it's not to say you're really going to be going through Jim Henson's directography or whatever, but filmography anyways, which is a better word. But because I don't really think I don't even think that he did that many, like, when I say I don't think he did many, okay, you see, he didn't really do much films, of course. And when I say that, I just mean ones that, like, you know, his main thing obviously was basically the Muppets for a long time. You know, he did Labyrinth. Oh, so he did Labyrinth after the Muppet Show finished, and then also he did the Muppet movie before Labyrinth. He also did The Dark Crystal before Labyrinth, and he also did, well, he did Fraggle Rock in between the makings of Labyrinth, because Labyrinth is 1986 and Fraggle Rock was 1983 to 1987. So midway. And then of course he did Sesame Street before Labyrinth. He also did he obviously did Muppets, but he did the Muppets, you know, way after. 2011. And then also he did the Muppets Take Manhattan before Labyrinth. And yeah. And he also did the Great Muppet Caper before Labyrinth as well. You see? But this is what I'm saying. All I mean is, of course, I know Jim Henson, but I basically just know Jim Henson for Muppets, you know. And I was gonna say, oh yeah, we all do, but that's the thing. You may know him for more stuff than I do, because I just don't really know. I just don't really know of him that well. And then obviously I could only say that Labyrinth was the only properly one aside from the Muppets that I've seen. You know, it's the only standalone film that I've seen of his. Aside from all of that, and guys, isn't the Muppets great? Anyway, it's like, honestly, shout out to the Muppets. Because we're talking about Jim, I was like, we have to say shout out to the Muppets, absolutely, because the Muppets is so good, and I like that. Really, the Muppets kind of signifies, you know, community and joy, you know, because, you know, when you think of the Rainbow Connection, you think of the Muppets. Sorry, I'm actually gonna start crying. Sorry. wait. I was sorry. I got dramatic because I was like, remember, I saw that they closed down. They closed down Muppet Vision? Yeah, and I was like, I will never be able to see Muppet Vision in this life. I was like, wow. I was like, no. You know, type of thing where it's like, I guess when you think about traveling and the idea of traveling, people travel to go to Florida, to go to Disneyland? Yeah, Disneyland. And I was like, well, Disneyland will always be, you know, I think Disneyland obviously will always be here, you know. It will always be here. It will always be like a thing, you know. But I found it really upsetting that it's the idea of that Muppet Vision is closed down, and then, like, I suppose a new generation will not be able to really will not be able to experience Muppet Vision. And then also, I guess, anyways, yes, myself included. I'm like, yeah, I'm not new gen, but I was still just like, I was still like, oh, I will not be able to see Muppet Vision, even though I've always liked the Muppets for a really long time. So yeah, but I never I never grew up on Muppets. A lot of people did. Lots of people grew up on the Muppets. I never grew up on them. I watched a lot of the Muppets stuff. I mean, I never watched. Funny enough, it's like I never watched the Muppet. I never watched the Muppet show, but we all know the Muppet song. Do you know what I mean? And then also I basically would also obviously watch Muppets Christmas Carol because that's a great, great film. I think, guys, that's also probably going to be in the Christmas edition. And it's basically also, that probably this Christmas episode is probably going to be, yes, formed around a Christmas watch list. More so of just Christmas films. I remember the last time I did the episode, I was basically just going through a collection of Christmas films, kind of. That's the way. But I think this time I'm gonna do it more so of a Christmas watch list, because that would be more fun. And I do feel like sometimes actually, I watch the same Christmas films every year. Not that, hey, well, that's a bad thing, but I really do. And you know what annoys me though? They always bring out those ones on Netflix. Not even to be a hater, but they bring out those ones on Netflix and they're always really bad. And I think you know what I'm talking about. The real cringe Christmassy films, and then it has a couple at the front of them, and it's just didn't they put that one out where it was Lindsay Lohan, and I forgot who her co-star was, but exactly, it was Lindsay Lohan and some other guy, and yeah, it was not good. I really did though, there was that one that came out that was obviously a newer one, which I think, well, not newer, but recent. So I think it was Holiday. Holiday was very good. I feel it wasn't that bad, because that was what's her name? Yeah, Emma. Is it? I was going to say yes. Is it Emma Roberts? I think it's Emma Roberts. So yeah, it was Emma Roberts. So exactly. Holiday was a really good film. Just because I suppose it just had the layers of also it had the layers of a Christmas film, to be honest. I think last but not least, I should also try to wrap up now and talking about Labyrinth a bit more, because I always like to do this, don't I, guys? I like to touch up on different areas, and it's let's not forget what we're here for, which is the main thing, which is Labyrinth. And I think what I will say, actually, yes, I'll say a summary of Labyrinth, by the way, actually. So I did already, kind of, anyways. I said Sarah was annoyed that her parents went out. I forget if we see her parents in the film, by the way, because it's funny because sometimes films don't always like to show parents, and then there used to be that whole thing where exactly parents weren't shown a lot in stuff. You'd forget that a parent exactly was even in a film, because they'd show them for a glimpse of 5 minutes, and you'd be like, did they even exist? And then you'd be like, oh, did they even have parents? Do you know what I mean? So, and even a film like Labyrinth makes you think that too, because it was just Sarah and the baby, and then you kind of forget that exactly, she was supposed to be babysitting her brother, and then obviously she basically just didn't want to, and we get that, you know what I mean? We actually get it. But yeah, so obviously, exactly, it says Sarah tries to find her baby brother Toby after she angrily wishes him away, and then the goblin Jareth promises Toby's return if Sarah can solve his labyrinth in less than 13 hours. Oh my gosh, also fun facts. This is what I mean. I always forget things when I'm recording. I did a drawing of the what do you call it? I did a drawing of like, not of the maze. I did a drawing of the like of the one where obviously when yeah, the within you scene. I did a drawing of that. I don't know where it is, by the way. See, artists artists never know where their stuff are, like, do you know what I mean? Like, if you're like me, who, I don't know, does art like annually, not even like, not even like every day, but we do it on a whim, and like, do you know what I mean? And then when we do it, we just misplace our artworks all over the place, and we can never actually find them. But I did really like that piece when I did it, though, because within you scene is like, I would say it's a very yeah, it's a very important scene to me, actually. And I suppose in all of cinema, I mean, because it makes me think of like, also makes me think of, Alice's scene in Twilight as well, of when of when she's drawing Bella's ballet studio from the top of her head. I also like that scene too. I think I also wanted to draw that as well, but then I thought that might have been more difficult. Yeah, because exactly, even drawing the within you scene was quite hard as well, actually, because obviously that scene is like just a lot of like, it's a lot of boxes. It's quite a abstract drawing. I like abstract art, but it's quite of an abstract drawing. So you're just there basically drawing lots of boxes, lots of like lots of triangles, lots of squares. Like, that was basically what I was doing. But that's all what art's about anyway. It's about committing. So that was why I decided to choose that one, to like do that scene in particular. And that scene obviously like really, yeah, really connected with me. Like, you know what I mean? I just mean that cinema connects with you. So it's like a scene will stay with you forever, and how much you really like, how much it really makes you remember it, and like, yeah, how you can like recite it. So obviously I do really like that scene in particular. But anyways, sorry, back to like my summary. But sometimes I like to, because I sometimes, even these episodes done, but I sometimes like to do my own summary, because I look at Google summary and I'm like, yeah, that's whatever. But what about mine? I'm like, bad sister wants to get rid of baby, finds Hot Goblin King, Hot Goblin King gives girl mission, and the mission is to solve the maze. But and then I feel like Labyrinth is also another one of those films, exactly, like, it's not one of those films that probably you'd say to yourself, I would not want to be there. Although I said, and I do stand on it, yes, I would stay with Jareth, but that's just because who wouldn't do that, And that's the whole like comfort in like otherworldly stories, It's the idea of, they tell these stories, and a lot of us would like the ability, anyways, to be able to like go into a new world and decide if we would stay there or not. It's even every time, even going back to my list and going back to a film like Coraline, it's always like how I thought, yes, the other mother had, she had other motive. So this is the thing. We couldn't have even stayed there anyway. So, that's what I mean. Like with Coraline, we couldn't have stayed there anyway because she wanted to button stuff into Coraline's eyes. So, and then it would have been a thing where if you had wanted to stay there, you just would have got the button eyes eventually. So it wouldn't have worked. But I do think that that's how they dress up these worlds anyways. It makes them interesting to us as the audience, and we're like, we'd like to live there, and especially, remember, Sarah first gets into the maze and then the worm invites her in, and I said, yeah, I would love to live wherever that worm was, where the worm was living. He was living like in a hole right inside the maze, and I was like, yeah, this looks really comfy. It's giving real like cottage vibes, and I'm like, who wouldn't want to live in a cottage? Do you get it? Like, so cozy, so warm. Yeah, that's why I was like, exactly. I would stay. And then also, it's the idea that exactly all of these films always have the thing that the character wants to escape from something, whatever it is. Whatever it is, even if it's like, yeah, even if it's a whole child. Moving on. We said Sarah wanting to like to get away from a whole child, even if it's that, it's still the idea of wanting to be somewhere else, and taking that as a weakness and an advantage. So this is all I'm saying. And I think exactly, well, like if the Goblin King is David Bowie, why wouldn't we stay? What a great place to end off. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in the next one.